Yeah. What's up, Who Dat Nation, man? How is everybody doing? This episode tonight, we're going to be covering the 53-man roster and also who made the practice squad. But guess what? I'm not going to be doing this alone tonight. We're going to have a special guest. We're going to have Saints senior writer, Mr. Bob Rose from Saints News Network. So guess what? It's about to be a fun night. Make sure y'all stay tuned. Let's get it. You can't see us.
Saints going to the Super Bowl, talking black and gold. Cameron Jordan on the field, about to take a QB soul. Ever Kamara break a tackle, so you know he bold. Mike Thomas catching everything, so you know he cold. We talking Byron Matthew, we talking Marcus May. We in the backfield, we gon' make them pay. Them boys hitting hard, they need an X-ray. Yeah. We talking black and gold. 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 Straight to the Super Bowl. Your time is up. Our time is now. Say hoodie, you can't see us. Our time is now. Hoodie droop in the building. We shining now. We shining. You can't see us. Our time is now. You heard me? Your time is up. Our time is now. You can't see us. Our time is now. Say hoodie droop in the building. We shining.
Here he is, Hoodie Juby.
What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Hoodie Juby, and we are back with another live podcast. And for those who don't know, y'all will know. There's no YouTube without your boy Hoodie Juby, y'all. I hope everybody's having a great night because I know I'm having a great night. Now, we're going to be talking about the 53-man roster, like I said earlier. We're going to be talking about the practice squad, but like I said, I'm not doing this alone tonight. We got special guest, Mr. Bob Rose. You know, he's a Saints senior writer for Saints News Network. So once he gets in here, we're going to, start discussing everything. But I do have two quick videos for us to listen to. And one of them is Mr. Dennis Allen. Today he got interviewed, after us knowing who's on the 53-man roster and some of the rosters moves that we did. And also I'm going to discuss some roster moves that happened today as well. And I got a bunch of stuff to talk about, because I'm pretty shocked about who made the roster and who made the practice squad, because they got some people on the practice squad that I think should be on the roster, and they got some people that was on the roster. I'm like, how did they, make the roster? And then you kind of think, like, why didn't the Saints go with the veterans? They went with the young bucks, on special teams. So we got so much to talk about. But let's listen to what Mr. Dennis Allen had to say first today. All right?
Chickens around here today, huh? Yeah. I mean, what the heck? Yeah. Well, listen. I'll answer your questions, and I'll let you get to your 3-day weekend.
You answered yesterday about Lattimore. Do you expect to have a full, healthy roster for?
Yeah, I don't know if we'll have all 53. We'll see where we're at next week, but we should have most of our guys anyway.
Then said you guys made some transactions between yesterday and today.
Yeah, we made a couple of transactions. We added a couple of runners to the practice squad, and then we released a couple of players off the practice squad.
Was that Meriwether and Summers?
Yeah. There's a lot of transactions that happen in the first few weeks of the season, so it's all about roster management.
How far along are you all in Tennessee?
Yeah, I think we're pretty far along, particularly in first and second down. I feel good about where we're at. We still got a few things to kind of do as a coaching staff, but we had a good practice today. Worked primarily on Tennessee today, so we'll get back to work on those guys. We'll finish up the little bit of the game planning process and be ready to go for a good Monday practice.
It's not so valuable as Tyrann Matthew just when it comes to kind of mentoring the young.
Yeah, no, he's been awesome. That's part of what we were hoping to get out of him when he came here is a little bit of that veteran presence, veteran leadership. I think the great thing about Tyrann is what you're getting every single day. He's a consummate pro in terms of how he goes about doing his job and taking care of his business. He's a guy that very rarely makes mistakes. he's usually in the right spot. And so we know exactly what we're getting with that player on a day in and day out basis.
Yes, we don't know anything about Marcus May's suspension, but how comfortable are you with the guys behind?
Yeah, comfortable. Yeah, very comfortable. I think it's a good group.
You mentioned the two runners out of the practice squad. We'd seen some early reports, Tony Jones Jr. and Jordan Mims.
Yeah.
Those guys.
Yeah.
What did you see in those guys that you wanted to?
Well, look, Tony's a guy that's been in the system. He really's been in the same basic install meetings all throughout training camp. So there's a familiarity in what we're doing offensively. So that was what was intriguing about him. And Mims is a guy that we watched on tape and felt like he had some, a little bit of, change of pace back, some quickness, change of direction, as well as his ability out of the backfield.
A couple of people have been giving Brizzy love for the spin moves that he put on film.
Still getting in a habit of giving rookies too much love.
All right. Well, let's try to phrase this in a way that you're not going to give them too much love. That defensive interior group as a whole.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, and there's some differences, in the players. I'd say, when you look at Malcolm Roach, he's quick, sudden, explosive. Breezy is very similar in that regard, much bigger, but an athletic interior player. And then we've got some guys that have, really good power in Shepard and Saunders. So, I think there's some versatility inside with those guys.
That group, there's so much of that you hadn't seen them all play. None of them really play together prior to this training camp. So how is that? Now you've had like a month and change to see them. How are they as a unit there?
Yeah, look, I think they've performed well in practices and in games when they've been called upon, and we felt good about them when we whether it be Brzee and we draft him, or Shepard and Saunders when we signed him in free agency. We saw something on tape that we liked, and I think they fit into what we're looking for inside. I think we're probably a little deeper at that position than maybe where we've been in the past.
Is Kendrick Miller dealing with an injury?
He's got a hamstring.
Is that anything that could jeopardize week one, or you?
See you next week. Injury reports are coming out real soon.
One more day after.
Okay.
All right.
Big picture, you said last week you really were happy with the trajectory of where you're all at. Can you kind of maybe explain a little more about that? Like, what in particular are you most confident about with the way things are going?
Well, I think this. I think, when you're out here every single day and you're watching your guys practice, they're practicing hard. They're practicing really fast. And our execution overall has been pretty good. And so, when you see that speed and the execution together, it gives you confidence. And when you see, an offense and a defense that, there's a lot of back and forth, and you're seeing, positives on both sides of the ball, it gives you confidence in your football team. And so that's why I like the trajectory we're on. But, look, we'll start playing real games here a week from Sunday, and we'll get a chance to find out really quick where we're at.
I remember last year you talked about the grit you liked in your team. Is there anything in particular on this team that maybe a characteristic?
I think it's the competitiveness. I think it's probably been one of the most competitive camps that we've had here in a while. And I think that comes when you have balance on your football team. It's hard to be, competitive if one side of the ball is winning everything. And so, the times the defense gets the better of the offense responds. Same thing the other way around. When the offense gets the better of the defense responds. And not just on a day-to-day basis, but from period to period. And I think that's the mark of a good team. All good? Okay, guys, enjoy your weekend.
So y'all heard it from Dennis Allen, man. Number one, I want to address this real quick. Kendre Miller, hamstring injury. Like they said, we'll find out next week with the injury reports and all that to know if he's gonna be ready to go for game one against the Tennessee Titans this week. He's been asked a lot of questions what he thinks about his team, why he feels so happy with the team, and I just love what he says. How it's more of a balanced team. It's more of a competitive, camp and practices this year. Just because you're so good on offense and you're so good on defense, it's like that saying, "Iron sharpen irons." Like they just going to go compete, and like they said, offense might kill the defense, half of the on one day, and then the next day here comes the defense and kills the offense. It's just kind of like a back and forth, which is gonna just make our team better and better as we, prepare each other for other teams. And just think of those teams that don't have good defense, where you think our offense can do. They playing against like a top 5, top 10 defense right now, trying to learn plays together and all that, and they still executing at a very high level, and then the defense is going against a high level offense, and it's just helping them out. So I'm super excited to hear some exciting news like that. And unfortunately, Kendre Miller, with a hamstring, hopefully he's ready to go by week one. But before we get into any other stuff and we start discussing the practice squad, and we're going to start talking about the 53-man roster, we got to bring on our special guest that's waiting in the back. And I told y'all he is a Saints senior writer of the Saints News Network. That's Mr. Bob Rose. How you doing, Mr. Bob?
Hoodie, I'm doing real well. Tired and crazy busy, but doing real well. I hope you're doing well too.
Yes, sir. I'm doing well, and like Mr. Jerry said in the chat earlier, I was reading the chat while I was listening to the video. He said, "Dang, Bob Rose busy this week." He said Tuesday you was on a show. He said Wednesday you was on your own show, the Saints News Network, and then he said now you're on my show and Dell 17 right after me. So like it's gonna be a busy week for you, huh?
Yes, sir. And I got another show tomorrow and another one on Sunday. I'm not even sure who I'm going on with, anymore. I'm part of a new broadcast team that's launching over at Pro Sports Fans. It's an app that you can download for iPhone technology. My Bayou Blitz co-host Brendan Boylan and I are going to be doing the New Orleans Saints coverage over there, and giving you folks a couple more live shows, every single week, including a post-game show when the Saints play on a Sunday. It's busy, but it's a good busy. I'm excited for this team and this season.
Definitely. And I wanted to ask you this question, because I was like, you know what, let me hit up Bob Rose, see if he can, be a special guest tonight, because we have to discuss this 53-man roster and practice squad. And, I kind of want to start off with the practice squad, but my first question before we even start digging into it is, was you shocked the other day when they started making these tweets out and telling everybody saying Bradley Roby was released, and then you hear that Will Lutz was being traded and they going with Blake Groupie. You heard that they moving on from Blake Gillikin and moving on to Louis Headley. Like, what was your thought? Like, was you kind of like shocked with those moves? Like, you thought that since we was in winning now mode, you thought you was gonna go with the veterans instead of the young folks?
I like Blake Groupie. I think he's a heck of a kicker. But so it didn't shock me because he and Lutz, went kick for kick. Both players were extremely impressive accuracy wise, and range. They each showed a lot of range. So I think the logic there, Dennis Allen's logic was that hey, Lutz is coming into the last year of his contract. He's a little bit older, coming off of a bad season. I'm going to take a risk and go with the younger leg, a guy that we have on a cheaper contract for at least the next 3 years, and let's hope it pays off. But like you said, Dennis Allen showed. Love you, little guy. And then Dennis Allen showed throughout the rest of the roster that he valued experience over the results that we saw in the preseason. We saw it at running back, with keeping Kurt Merrick over Ellis Merriweather. Keeping Traquan Smith, Keith Kirkwood over John Trey Kirkland and Shaq Davis. Linebacker keeping Zach Bond over Anthony Orgy and Ty Summers. So on and so on. And then he goes with two unproven rookie kickers. So yeah, that was a bit of a head scratcher to me. It's not that Gillikin was overly impressive as a punter in preseason. He was not. But still, I figured he would go with the experience over the rookie legs. There. So that surprised me a little bit. As for Bradley Roby, I'm a little bit surprised they didn't try a little harder to trade him if he weren't in there, it wasn't in their plans. Look, I know they're going to go with, they want Alante Taylor to work out as their primary slot guy. And Alante's talented. He's going to work out just fine, but there's going to be some growing pains there. So I figured that they might either try to a little harder to trade Roby or at least hang on to him into the regular season if Alante had some speed bumps, while basically learning a new position. So those moves surprised me a little.
Definitely. Like I said, I was shocked with the Roby one because, we was watching Alante Taylor, and it ain't like, none of us, were hating on Taylor, and, we all believe in him because we saw what he did last year for the outside corner. He just needs to learn that position, but he was getting burnt and killed in the preseason games, and that wasn't working out. So I was like, and then you think about it too, Bradley Roby does get burnt a lot too. In regular season sometimes. So maybe they said it's just better just to go with a rookie that has, more speed, who's got that attitude like CJ Garner-Johnson that used to play that spot, and he believes in himself. So why not just let him, learn and get him out there? And because he said it would be hard to not have a Debo and Alante Taylor not on the field, like one of them. So I think that's the reason why they went that way. So I was kind of shocked, and I'm kind of shocked, like what you said, with Traquan Smith making the team and all that, and Zach Bond. But I did talk to reporter Ross Jackson and asked him. I said, "Was you shocked about this?" And he said, "No, I was not shocked about the Zach Bond or Traquan." He said, "Number one, he said Traquan keeps making the team every year because when he is healthy, he's one of the best receiver and blockers out there that can block and help you with your run game." He said, "And number two, Zach Bond. Yes, we don't use Zach Bond the correct way that you need him to." When you should be blitzing him off the edge, because that's what he's good at. But Ross Jackson also said the reason why we keep him is because of special teams, and he's a hell of a special team player, and that's why you got to keep him. He said, so that's why you sometimes see some of these names like this linebacker, I think, is so much better than this linebacker. Like, why you even have this dude on the roster? And they like, well, he's a special team player. He's really good, and it's hard to lose somebody like him on special teams. So I kind of understand where Ross Jackson and the Saints are coming from, but there are names that I like on the practice squad that I can see them adding to the active roster very soon.
Yeah, and listen, I love Ross. He's one of my colleagues over at the Saints News Network. But he'll stay on the positive side of the Traquan, and Zach Bond thing. I see it through reality. And listen, I know Zach Bond is a terrific special teamer, actually. So he's earned his spot that way. This is a team that a lot of us were concerned about their linebacking depth coming in, after losing Caden Ellis. And Zach Bond is not in this defensive scheme. Zach Bond is not a guy that you want to roll out there as a third linebacker in any way, shape, or form. So, Ross is correct that they don't use him in the right way, but that's not the scheme that they call for to use any of their linebackers that way. Jalen Smith is flat out a better linebacker for Dennis Allen's scheme. Now, they brought Jalen Smith back to the practice squad. So, I expect he'll be elevated to the active roster very, very soon and, early into the season. And Zach's going to do his thing on special teams. Traquan, on the other hand, I know he's a good blocker. But listen, wide receivers are paid to catch passes, to get separation, to make plays. And those are three things that Traquan Smith just flat out has never, ever done in his 5 years. Certainly not consistently. So I think ultimately what they're going to do with Traquan Smith is, in the next week or so, my hunch is that they'll put him on short-term injured reserve or the physically unable to perform list. That'll create a roster spot that they can elevate another receiver, another running back, or maybe even another defender. So they didn't just want to put outright cut Traquan, because another guy, that visor that lives in the Rocky Mountains in Denver, Colorado now would probably pick him up. Traquan does know the system. And, listen, as a fourth or fifth receiver, I suppose he's not bad. You could certainly do worse. So that's just my view on Traquan Smith.
Definitely. And I was kind of shocked too. Like, I don't know if anybody remembers But I think Traquan was here earlier this season, and he decided to go test out the free agency and went over to Atlanta, and he was gonna go do something with Atlanta, but he came back and decided
Yeah.
to sign a 1 year cheap deal with us. So it kind of is what it is, and I kind of agree with you. I think they should put him on IR short term, for a little bit to bring some other people up, let them test their water in a regular season game instead of just preseason, see what we got more of. But speaking of that, I'm gonna go over our practice squad players real quick, with you, and I'm gonna put an overlay over and name some people. So first up, we're gonna talk about on our practice squad is our receivers, and this is who are your practice squad receivers right now. You got Zach Davis, Lynn Bowden Jr. and John Trey Kirkland. Now, Kirkland is a guy I really like,
Hmm.
especially with Bowden. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you, I like all these players. I think Bowden and Kirkland should both have a good chance of trying to be on the kickoff returns or punt returns because you do not want. Well, this is me as a coach. If I was a coach, I would not want to risk Rasheed Shaheed with the injuries he already had. I'd rather him just focus on that wide receiver number 3 spot because he showed you last year he can be a wide receiver 2 or 3 for you. So I want to see more production out of him and just stay healthy there because remember what we did with Deontay Harris, played him at receiver and punt return and
Hmm.
kick return, and he got hurt too much. But like I told that to Ross Jackson. Ross Jackson said, but don't forget Deontay Harris was 5'1", 140 pounds or whatever. Like he was small when he got hit too. So I understand the injuries. But Zach Davis is a guy that I said he needs to make the roster. And then when I heard that he got released and waived, I'm like, you can't be doing this. But good thing he cleared waivers and we got him back on the practice squad. So I wanted to ask you with the receiving core that you got, on the roster, and you got the receivers right here on your practice squad, what you think about these practice squad receivers?
I like all three of them. I'm with you. And I know Shaq Davis became a fan favorite, during the preseason, and I can see why. He came on really strong at the end. What killed Shaq as far as not making the initial 53-man roster is the fact that he hasn't really played special teams. And when you're looking at the back half of your roster, and specifically the wide receiver spot, wideouts 4, 5, 6. If you keep the 6 wideouts, you need those guys to play special teams too. So that's where Shaq was kind of on the outside looking in. But I'm glad they got him back, to develop him more, because he's a big physical guy with underrated athleticism, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he can develop his route tree. Lynn Bowden, John Trey Kirkland, like you said, they both had some decent moments as kick returners, both punt and kickoff return, in the preseason. And I agree with you, Hoodie, that I don't think that they want to use Rashid Shaheed as a returner, at least at least all the time. Maybe on special occasions or when they need a big return, maybe they'll trot him out. And the key to remember too is a couple rules about the practice squad has changed this year, and one key one is you can now activate 2 practice squad players on game day. When you make your inactive announcements 90 minutes before kickoff, you can declare up to 2 practice squad players as being a game day active. Whereas in years past, you would have to elevate those guys to the active roster, 2 days or more beforehand. And if you weren't going to keep them on the active roster after the game, you'd have to cut them, hope they clear waivers, and bring them back. There's not all those complications this year. So a guy like Bowden or Kirkland, they can be elevated specifically for kick return duties on game day this year.
Definitely, and I think Shaq Davis, Bowden, and Kirkland, we're gonna see a lot of, especially being activated. Like you said, we just got to test out the waters and see who do you want your punt returners to be, who you want your
Mm-hmm.
kickoff returners to be, because like I said, I wouldn't want to risk Rasheed Shaheed getting hurt. That's just me as a coach, just thinking of injuries already occur. Michael Thomas, can he stay healthy this year? So do you
Right.
want to lose Rasheed Shaheed and Michael Thomas if Michael Thomas was to get hurt? So it's just what a coach wants to do. So basically, we'll see what they're gonna do, but I think we're gonna see a lot of action from all these receivers on practice squad. Speaking of practice squads, right? We'll move on to our running backs, which kind of shocked me, everybody. Just to let everybody know, just to give y'all a quick update on practice squads. That if anybody knows, Merriweather, who was becoming a little fan favorite as well, people were talking about him being a nice power back. He got waived today, and I think Ty Summers was the other one I think that got waived
Yeah.
today because they both got waived, and people were like, well, they both got waived, and who the heck we signed to the practice squad? Well, it was these two running backs. One of them you are very familiar with because he just got waived not too long ago from the Broncos, and he cleared the waivers, and that is no other than Tony Jones Jr. and Jordan Mims from the Buffalo Bills. These are your two practice squads running backs, who are going to be, behind our at the roster running backs. Now, I wanted to ask you, what is your thoughts on these two running backs? Because Tony Jones Jr., he showed a little bit of promise in preseason, but never did in the regular season for us. But he does know your offense. And then Jordan Mims, I heard a lot of people saying he looks like a really good bat. It looks like a good running back that can catch out the backfield and can show some promise, in preseason this year. So, what's your thoughts on these two?
Yeah, well, regarding Tony Jones, you heard Dennis Allen say it in his presser. We go right back to he's an experienced guy. He knows the system. Jones, as we saw before in his previous stint with New Orleans, he's a very limited back, but he can give you some power between the tackles, maybe be a short yardage option or goal line option. Just basically another body who knows your system, and that's key for a running back. Not so much for running the football or even receiving, but for pass protection and blitz pickup. The difference between a running back picking up a blitz and not being able to read blitz pickup is a difference between your quarterback getting killed, or standing up there in the pocket and making a big play. So what Dennis Allen sees in Tony Jones Jr. As far as Jordan Mims, I'll be honest. When John Hendricks first broke the report yesterday, I went as if I don't get a little enough sleep. I did a film study, from Jordan Mims when he was at Fresno State, teammate of Jay Kaner. And I'll tell you, I came away pretty impressed. This is a guy that shows some wiggle in the open field. He runs with good vision. He does not go down at first contact. He's not your prototypical power runner, but he is going to fight for extra yardage. He's going to be a legitimate threat in the flat or as a check down receiver, for Derek Carr and those quarterbacks. And he's a nice change of pace. And listen, I love Ellis Merriweather too. I fell in love with him. I thought he was just going to be a power back coming into camp. When I did my draft film study on him, he turned out to surprise myself and a lot of people with his receiving ability. And I know a lot of people were disappointed that he got released from the practice squad. But listen, I think he'll be back. The Saints are not done making moves. We know that Kendre Miller is dealing with a hamstring injury too, which is something to keep an eye on. And at least Ellis Merriweather from training camp and 3 preseason games knows a little bit of the playbook. So he's a little bit, he's familiar enough with the system that he's a guy that you could pick up off the street, and plug and play. But as far as Jones, again, there's a low grade confidence that Dennis Allen has in him. And Mims, shows the potential to be a real change of pace back and probably going to be able to play special teams as well.
Definitely. And I like Tony Jones Jr. still. I felt like we kind of went a little hard on the brother because preseason I think we got too hyped over him. Like, oh yeah, he's gonna be good. He'll be fine. And yeah, he wasn't because I think we just took it too serious from preseason. Basically like we did with Sat Davis, but Sat Davis did one thing a little bit different in preseason. This dude's catching contested catches over people, and
Yeah.
that's what we like to see, And he was just getting open and just a free pass because the corner can't cover. Oh no, he was catching it over them, and I think that's why a lot of people fell in love, with Shaq Davis. And speaking of the next position, these was our running backs. Let's move over to our DBs on our practice squads, and that is Mr. Anthony Johnson from Virginia, and Jonathan Abram. And Barrows, when I tell you, I really, really like Jonathan Abram because he is somebody that I can see us activating up to the roster a lot, especially with injuries occurring. Especially a guy that I think, going throughout practice, they're going to test him out to see if they can put him on special teams because I don't know if anybody remember Jonathan Abram when we played him a while back when he was playing for the Raiders. This dude is a hard hitting safety. He
Mhm.
hits you very hard. So with the safeties we got already on the team and the roster we have, how it's stacked, I think you're gonna see Abram a lot on this practice squad, especially getting brought up for special teams use because I think throughout the year and throughout practices, I think he's gonna show everybody that hard hitting, safety that he is, and they're gonna want him on special teams, helping cause fumbles, hitting, people, and just basically helping on special team. I think that's where he's gonna fall into place. Anthony Johnson, he's a rookie. Same thing. He could probably get special teams probably at the most. I don't see him taking nobody's spot like Jordan Howdine or Marcus May, Tyrann Matthews. I don't see him taking all those people's spots. So what is your thoughts on these two DBs that we got on the squad?
Yeah, you're right. Anthony Johnson, that's purely for special teams. Maybe they see some traits there that they can develop because he's still a young guy. Jonathan Abram brings much valued experience, to that safety position. Because remember, you're talking about JT Gray is nursing an injury right now, and he's also not a guy that sees a lot of defensive reps anyway. JT isn't. Plus, and people are forgetting this, Marcus May is going to be suspended. It's probably not going to happen for week 1, but I do expect it to happen early in the year. And when it does, you have a guy in Jonathan Abram who's been around the NFL block, former first-round pick. You're limited on what you can do with Abram. He is not a guy you want in coverage, literally ever. He's a major coverage liability. But if they use him, if Dennis Allen uses Jonathan Abram the way he used Malcolm Jenkins, in a too high safety role or down as kind of an extra linebacker down in the tackle box, that's where Jonathan Abram can be effective. Because, like you said, he's a very aggressive run defender. He packs a wallop as a hitter, and he doesn't have good range in coverage, but he has good awareness. Where you can put him back there in a too high safety, with an Ugo Amadi or Tyrann Matthew. And he's not going to necessarily hurt you in coverage. Bringing these two guys back to the practice squad, it does make a lot of sense.
Definitely, and I think, like I said, I think Abrams got a good shot at making that special team. He's just a hard hitter, and I don't think we're gonna give up on him just yet. I think he's still got a lot left in him. Young. It was just injuries that kind of took away his game a little bit. So let's see if he can stay healthy. Because he's on the practice squad. See he can make that special teams for us. Now, next up on the practice squad, we're just gonna cover our offensive linemen, that we have. We got Mark Evans the second, who a lot of people did like, because he came from
Mm-hmm.
I think where did he came from? I think did he come from the same college as Teron Armstead, I think?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I think that's why a lot of people was falling in love with Mark Evans. They said maybe he's the next Teron Armstead, I think that's what people was falling in love with him. Tommy Kramer is a guy I think who's a very good veteran, that can help you out, especially in the interior. Storm Norton, though, man, this dude was going up against some damn rookies and no names that's probably not even gonna make it in the NFL, and you were just letting people go by you, Storm Norton. But you're a veteran player, screw it, you're on the practice squad. It ain't like you on the active roster anyway. But Bob Rhodes, what is your thoughts on these three guys, and do you see any of these three guys maybe making it up to the roster? And maybe making an impact. I don't know.
Hoodie, I do like Mark Evans. Mark Evans the second. He was a tackle in college. Converted to guard. He's a big-bodied athlete that shows some developmental traits. But listen, I would not be surprised, if any or all three of these guys were moved off if other more experienced, better quality linemen became available. Because you trashed on Storm Norton a bit ago. I'm not going to pile on, but the guy was awful. But you know what? Kramer, Evans, Lewis Kidd, Calvin Throckmorton, Max Garcia, they were all awful. The backup offensive line has some big concerns in my head. And like I said, in Evans, I see a guy with some developmental traits. Tommy Kramer, talking to Ross Jackson and John Hendricks, Kramer showed showed out as a good run blocker in practices. We just didn't see it during the game. And at least with Storm Norton, he has some starting experience in the NFL. So you do have an experienced guy that you could fall back to if injuries hit your offensive line again. I got to reiterate, if more experienced linemen become available at some point before the season starts or even early into the season, I don't see Dennis Allen hesitating 1 second and making a move to get another guy and jettison one or all of these guys here. It was not a unit that impressed me in preseason.
Definitely, especially with my boy Jameis Winston out there getting shad. Jake Hayner ain't having no time running out. Yeah, it was horrible. But like you said, I think I like Mark Evans too, especially a guy coming from a low, a low college that's not really known, but is main known because of Teron Armstead, being an All Pro tackle that we had. Wish we still had him, but it's okay. We got a younger guy, named Trevor Penning that we're gonna talk about later. On the active roster. Now, just to kind of move on, on the opposite side of the O line is the D line, right? And the practice squad on the D line, I like two big names. Now, I like them all. They all did, impress me in preseason. But the two that I really like a lot is Nico. I don't know how to say his last name. I don't want to mess up his name. And Carl Phillips. Those two guys are my favorite. Nico. All I gotta say this. Carl Granderson, Peyton Turner, Capasino, whoever's on this after roster, y'all, whoever's the defensive end and y'all over there, all I gotta say is y'all better watch y'all back with Nico. He been on the practice squad before. He left, went to the XFL, USFL, wherever he went, came back to the NFL, played preseason, and balled out. So all I gotta say is they better watch out for Nico, because if they not getting sacks and they not putting pressure like Dennis Allen wants you to, Nico will be somebody I see them calling up. And Carl Phillips is another guy I really like, who I think basically, because somebody asked me the other day about Nathan Shepard, right?
Mhm.
I started defensive tackle. Do you think he's gonna be good? I think he's gonna be really good. I think he
Yeah.
and Carl Phillips are really good. I think the only thing is they were behind so much good talent over there on that Jets D line. They got so many good starters. It was hard to play them and rotate them and keep them. Um, just like Saunders, that we got from the Chiefs. He was behind Chris Jones and all them. But he's still very talented. So I think we got us a very talented D line. And like I said, speaking of practice squad, I think Nico and Mr. Phillips will probably be my two favorites that I can see getting a lot of play time.
Yeah, Kyle Phillips and Jack Heflin both, had some really nice run reps in the preseason. Nico Lalos, like you said, he was a monster. I felt bad for Nico, especially because he was kind of a victim to the numbers game. You weren't going to move on from Cam Jordan, Granderson, Passanio. Those three are constant parts of your rotation. It looks like the light is finally turning on for Peyton Turner here. Let's hope that continues through the regular season. And I know people were disappointed in Isaiah Foskey. But listen, I saw some good development out of Isaiah too. So look for him to have a solid season. But even if you were down on him, he's a second-round draft pick as a rookie. They weren't going to get rid of him. So unfortunately, all that left Nico Lalos on the outside looking in. I'm really glad they brought him, and all three of these guys, Heflin and Phillips, too, to the back to the practice squad. If any of the starting defensive linemen get a little bit nicked up, there's very little drop off. If you have to go to Heflin, Phillips, or especially Nico Lalos. So I like that trio.
Definitely. I think they all have a good shot at making some getting some playing time, especially if injuries do occur. And last but not least, y'all, on the practice squad, we are going to go to the linebackers. Who one of them should be on the dang roster right now, and he's the first name on there. He was a damn Pro Bowler for the Cowboys. This man can stack up 100 tackles for you. He probably could have did it last year if he would have got more playing time right away on the Giants roster, and that is Mr. Jalen Smith, and you got Ryan Connolly, and you got Anthony Orji. Now, I like Orji, from Vanderbilt. I like him, but I do like Jalen Smith the best, and I think Jalen Smith by week 1 or week 2, this man's gonna be on the roster already because, like I said, this dude is a beast, and I think the only thing that held him back from having so many different Pro Bowls was his injuries, and that's why the Cowboys let him go. He went to the Giants and them, and I think he went to the Packers too for a little bit, but I really do like Jalen Smith. And what's your thoughts on these linebackers on the practice squad?
Yeah, Hoodie, I love Jalen Smith and his fit in this defense. I'm with you. I think Jalen is going to be on the active roster, very soon into the regular season, if not immediately. And he's going to be effective as that third linebacker alongside Demario Davis and Pete Werner. Ryan Connolly, Anthony Orji. If you ask me, I thought both of those guys outplayed Zach Bond, defensively. We saw Orji get a lot of special teams reps too, so that's significant moving forward. The guy's a converted safety, for converted collegiate safety, so we know he's got range and coverage skills. Ryan Connolly impressed me. He was a guy that kind of came out of nowhere. Played very well defensively. Now, Dennis Allen has said that Conley is dealing with and I quote, a significant knee injury. So watch that in the coming days. If that doesn't respond to treatment, Conley could be another guy that they move on to short-term injured reserve or the pup list. To create another roster spot on for another guy to be added to that practice squad. But yeah, I like this trio of linebackers. You can see where their thought process is. I'm with you and pretty much everybody else. Jalen Smith being cut initially, it didn't make any sense to me. Luckily, the gamble paid off, and they were able to bring him back to the practice squad. But remember, they're going to have. He's still vulnerable on the practice squad. Another team could poach him and add him to their active roster. So I think with the Saints having that in mind, I do agree with you that I think Jalen Smith is going to be moved up to the active roster sooner rather than later.
Definitely, and that's probably one of my favorite ones. And I think RG has a good shot of making the roster sooner or later. Whether if it's special team or rotational linebacker, we'll see what the Saints do with RG as well. Now we can speed it up a little bit now because we're going to the after roster, and we all know our after roster. But let's get to know them real quick. Quarterbacks, let's get it out the way. Derek Carr, Jameis Winston, and Jake Hayner. And I don't have Taysom Hill because he's not listed as your quarterback, but everybody knows Taysom Hill, who he is and what he does, so we don't have to put him on here anyway. But I love our roster. I think we have the best QB room in the NFL. There's nobody that's gonna have a guy that can start for you. And Derek Carr, who's a Pro Bowler, and there's nobody that has a guy that's like Jameis Winston, who is another starter that can start in the league, literally over some other quarterbacks right now. So we basically got two starting quarterbacks, and depending on how Jake Hayner, develops and gets, more into the NFL speed and learning everything, Jake Hayner's got really good accuracy, and I think he's a very smart kid too. Besides the last game, going to the same guy over and over and over again, and Lucas Crew, by the way, who's Mr. Sean Payton stole, which I seen somebody posted it on Twitter. How in the heck are you so damn tired of the New Orleans Saints and you say you just need a new start, but then you come to take all the Saints players anyway? It don't make no damn sense, right? It didn't make sense. So, what's your thoughts on our quarterback room?
I think Derek Carr's going to do some special things in this offense as long as he gets blocking in front of him. I love the weapons around him. I love Carr's mindset, and I love his skill set. Jameis Winston, in my opinion, the most talented backup quarterback in the league. He's a guy that you can win games with if if he had to play. Jake Hayner, really excited about his developmental possibilities. I know people wanted some people wanted Winston to be cut and Hayner to be promoted as the backup. Guys, that was never going to happen this year. They want Jake Hayner to develop and learn sitting behind two quality veterans, and learn this playbook mentally before he has to step out onto the field and step into the fire, so to speak. So Hayner is the third string quarterback. The only way we see him is if disaster strikes. But yeah, I'm with you. I love this quarterback room.
Definitely, me too. And by the way, since we're gonna be running almost out of time, I'm gonna flip it to East Section. I'm gonna let Bob Rose, cover it, and ask him his thoughts on everything instead of me talking, and then let him, since we got to speed it up for Dose 17, who's up next. So next up is the running back room, Bob. We have on this after roster, we have Alvin Kamara, Jamal Williams, Kendre Miller, and Colt Merited, who made it at running back. So what are your thoughts on these four running backs right now?
Well, I mean, first of all, obviously, Alvin Kamara is going to miss the first 3 games of the season. Jamal Williams and Kendre Miller, if he's healthy, are more than capable of carrying that backfield load. But that hamstring injury to Miller, that's something to watch going forward. Merritt is already dealing with leg injuries of his own. Very possible. When I said before that we're not done seeing the Saints make some moves, would not surprise me if Merriweather was back. Would not surprise me if they brought in another veteran back if they don't like the health of Kendre Miller. Listen, Jamal Williams, Kendre Miller, they're a heck of a tandem. I think they'll be just fine if those guys are healthy until Kamara comes back. And when Kamara comes back, I think we're going to see a monster year out of him. His stats are going to be a little bit down compared to what we're used to seeing, because of the presence of Jamal and Kendre. But I think Alvin's effectiveness will be even that much greater because of all the other weapons in this offense.
Definitely. I agree with you. And I just to say one thing, because I know we're trying to speed it up. I wanted to ask you this weird question real quick. If Miller's injury is more concerned, and let's say they do bring Merriweather back, whatever, but that doesn't work out, and they want to go with a veteran. This guy hasn't signed anywhere yet, and he said he had a good visit with us. Can Kareem Hunt be a guy that the Saints go back after again, and maybe give him a contract that he wants? Because we still have the money. We still got some cap space to use it if we need a guy like Kareem Hunt.
Hoodie, it's certainly possible. They could bring back, Daryl Williams too. It would depend on, Hunt's contract demands, and the fact is, whether a guy like Kareem would be willing to accept a significantly lesser role once Alvin Kamara comes back, knowing that he's going to be sitting behind Kamara, Jamal Williams, and probably Kendre Miller once he gets fully healthy.
Definitely. I mean, I would like to bring Kareem back, Hunt, no matter what, and then just release him or something. I mean, do whatever. But hey, Kareem Hunt wouldn't be a bad guy to put with Jamal Williams and Alvin Kamara, and just like Kendre Miller, heal up, and get healthy, and we'll use him next year if we have to, because it seems like he's getting injuries after injuries. So let him heal if we have to. Next position, wide receiver. We are loaded from the after roster to the practice squad. So what's your thoughts on our receiver room?
Michael Thomas, assuming he's healthy, I think he's going to play with a chip on his shoulder. I think he's going to have a big, big year. Chris Olave, we've only seen the tip of the iceberg of what he can do. The same thing goes for, I believe, Rashid Shaheed. A.T. Perry, that's a guy I have been high on since before the draft. So I love the fact that he was making some plays in the preseason. And listen, I love to see a guy like Keith Kirkwood succeed. Keith is a heck of a guy. As hard a worker as you're going to find on this team. I'm glad to see him get an opportunity. Traquan Smith, if y'all follow me, you know how I feel about Traquan Smith. I'm sick of trashing on the man.
I know a lot of people are getting over Traquan and Keith Kirkwood. I think he earned his spot. Especially coming all the way just to work out with Derek Carr and get his chemistry together. So I think Kirkwood's gonna be special because a lot of people ain't gonna be focusing on him. They're gonna be focusing on the other three that we got right there first. Next up is our tight end room. So what's your thought on this one? I think we got the most loaded tight end room, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, there's not a Travis Kelce here. I will grant you that. But the Juwan Johnson, Derek Carr combination, it looked like it could be something special. Foster Moreau, we didn't see much of him during the preseason, but we know that he's a solid, inline tight end, both blocking and receiving. Jimmy Graham. Folks that were critical of this, you're not going to get the Jimmy Graham of 2011, but the Saints don't need the Jimmy Graham of 2011. He's still 6'7". He could still run routes. He could still catch the ball in traffic and knows how to use his body. This man is going to be a weapon near the red zone, and in certain alignments. Think of it this way. And Taysom Hill, by the way, he's going to be Taysom Hill. He's going to be effective everywhere he lines up, and he's going to make plays. But think of it this way. When an NFL team trots out three tight ends in a jumbo package, you expect the second and third tight end to be mostly blocking guys, right? Foster Moreau, Jimmy Graham, they are quality receivers. They're going to be a matchup problem when they go to a jumbo formation against opposing defenses. Good luck, defensive coordinators.
Good luck. Next position, because we're trying to speed it up over here. We got our fullback / special teams. I put them all like on one. So what's your thought on this room, the fullback / special teams?
Prentice is the underappreciated guy. He does the dirty work, but I love Adam Prentice and what he brings. Zach Wood, most consistent long snapper in the NFL, and we already talked about the kicking surprises here. I'm rooting for a guy like Lou Hedley. I mean, please, a 30-year-old rookie that's taken a long path to the NFL. Of course, you're going to root for him. Groupie, I listen. I was impressed by him in the preseason. I'm just hoping that the pressure of a regular season kick doesn't get to be too much for him. And Dennis Allen doesn't pay, for moving on from a clutch experienced guy like Lutz. But, Groupie, Headley, I'm definitely rooting for him.
Definitely. And next up, you got your offensive line. And I got your starters first, and then I got another one for the backup. So what you think of the starting offensive line?
I love this starting five. I think it's still a top tier unit when they're healthy. The problem is they haven't been healthy in 3 years. Trevor Penning, the concern about him was not only health, but how is his pass blocking going to develop? It looked like it developed pretty nicely. Again, there's going to be some growing pains on the outside there, but you could see why the Saints loved him enough to draft him in the first round. Eric McCoy, most underrated center in the league. Cesar Ruiz, that light really turned on for him last year. For my money, Ruiz was the most consistent Saints offensive lineman in 2022. Ryan Ramczyk, you don't get any better than him at right tackle. James Hurst. I know some people still like Andrews Pete. I don't necessarily hate him, but I think Pete's on the downside of his career. I think if you go with James Hurst as a starter at that left guard spot, I think that's actually an upgrade to Pete.
Definitely, because it's called consistency. You're going to be in there and you're going to be playing, unlike Andrew Speed, who's out every other game or every 5 games he's out. So I think it's definitely good to have. Backup. What you think about backup O-lines that we chose to keep?
Listen, just like we said about the practice squad offensive lineman, this group terrifies me. Max Garcia, experienced quality NFL starter, but he sure as hell didn't look like it in the preseason. He looked like a human turnstile. Nick Saldivari, remember, folks, Nick is learning a new position, and he's just a rookie. I still like his developmental traits, but they need to be just that. I don't want to see him in the lineup yet. He ain't ready. Andrews Pete, still a quality lineman, especially run blocker when he's healthy. The question is that, or the issue is that hasn't been very often. Landon Young dealing with injuries of his own, but he's proven in limited reps in his short career that he could be a decent tackle when asked. And they were having him before he got hurt in preseason. They were having him work out some at guard. So keep an eye on the development of Landon Young as a versatile offensive lineman. But still, there's not a sane human being on the planet that can tell me that they would feel comfortable with this group going in if injuries hit the starting offensive line.
Definitely. Next up, D-line. What's your start on the D-line of starters right here?
Oh God, I'm so excited for this group. I mean, he's still Cam. He's a Hall of Famer. Nathan Shepard, he had a quiet preseason, but I'm telling you, folks, this guy can play. He can really play. He's gonna cause some disruption on the inside. So is Colin Sanders. A freakish athlete with tremendous strength. Mr. Underrated on the other side, Carl Granderson. You look for Carl. Now that they upgraded the defensive tackle spot, and that's going to get some push in the middle, Carl Granderson and Cam Jordan, they're going to get a lot of one-on-one opportunities, and they're going to make the most of them.
Definitely. And we got backups on your D-line, the rookies and stuff like that. What's your thought on our backups?
I was thrilled to see Peyton Turner play so well in the preseason. I hope to God that extends into the regular season. Because he's a nice kid. I root for him. He just has not gotten it done in the first 2 years. Brissy, he's the real deal, ladies and gentlemen. He is going to be a stud in that interior. Isaiah Foskey, we mentioned before, a little bit slow starter, but I think he's a guy that's only going to see 12, 15 snaps a game. But I think Isaiah Foskey is a guy that's going to look a lot better at the end of the season than he does the beginning. Malcolm Roach, another guy that had a tremendous training camp. The only returning defensive tackle from last year. Roach is playing with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, and that much is evident. We talked about how underrated Carl Granderson was. Tano Passanio, just as underrated. Coaches ask him to do a job, he's going to bust his butt to do it. He's not an 8-10 sack a year guy, but he's going to make plays for you, and he plays with a nonstop motor. I love this defensive line rotation.
Definitely, me too. I think we have a way better D-line this year. Next up, our linebackers. What's your start on the linebacker?
There are not too many teams that have a better tandem than Demario Davis and Pete Werner. After that, it gets sketchy. I already talked about Zach Bond. I'm not going to beat that dead horse anymore. Nefi Sewell, DeMarco Jackson. I love both of those guys coming in, especially DeMarco. But Sewell had a wonderful preseason. Again, if you plug Jalen Smith into this into this linebacker rotation, I'm going to feel a lot better about its depth. Otherwise, I look at Sewell and Jackson as exciting developmental prospects. But every Saints fan has got to be holding their breath that Davis and Pete Werner stay healthy all year long.
Definitely. Next up, we got corners, and then we got one more position, which will be the safety. So what's your thought on the corners?
The Saints have the best cornerback trio in the NFL. There, I said it, and to me, it's not even close. Marshawn Lattimore, Paulson Adebo, Alante Taylor. I know Taylor was working his way in the slot, but remember, when you have all these three of these guys on the field at the same time, Lattimore can shadow a team's best receiver everywhere on the field, including the slot. So, when that happens, Adebo, Taylor are still going to be on the outside where they're comfortable. Isaac Iadom, big drop off from Bradley Roby defensively. But Isaac is a very aggressive special teamer, which is why I think he made the squad.
Definitely, because he was definitely getting cooked in preseason. I don't know how he made it, but yeah, I was told preseason special team as well from Ross Jackson. And last but not least, before we get out of here and end the show, what is your thoughts on our safety room?
Tyrann Mathieu had a really strong finish to the year, so I think he's in for a big year. We talked about May's looming suspension. When he is on the field, I would like to see a lot more plays from Marcus May than we saw last year. Lonnie Johnson Jr., he's more of a cornerback. He's going to be asked to fill that P.J. Williams role, that hybrid corner safety guy. J.T. Gray, purely special teamer. Jordan Howden, he's a rookie that not a lot of guys were talking about, but he's also a guy that made an immediate impact and for a while was getting first and second team reps with the defense. Ugo Amadi, if you'd have asked me at the beginning of training camp what I thought Amadi's chances were of making the roster, I'd have said slim and none. And, Slim had about 1,000,000 to 1 shot. But Amadi played his way onto the roster. Man, was I impressed by the way this guy played in all 3 preseason games. The safety position, I won't lie to you, Hoodie. As a matter of fact, we even talked. I was concerned about the safety position coming into training camp. I feel a lot better about it now coming out of preseason.
Definitely. So thank you, Mr. Bob Rose, for coming on, helping us with it. I know you got to go catch another live right now. And it's on here. It's on the Pro Media and on the Keeping It Real Who Dat podcast, with Dog 17. So everybody, make sure y'all stay tuned, make sure y'all go hop over to the other show that's on the Pro Media Network next with Dog 17, because he's going to have a lot of fun over there. He's going to have Bob Rose. He's going to have Ross Jackson. I think he's got John Hendricks, and I think he's got Mosley or whatever his name is.
Kyle Mosley, yeah, Hoodie.
Yeah.
He kidnapped the whole. He's kidnapping the whole Saints News Network crew tonight.
Yeah, that's what I was told. So make sure y'all go tune in over there and have some fun. Everybody, like I said, if y'all have any questions for Bob Rose or whatever, he'll be on the next show. Dell 17, he always looking for people to hop on and ask questions and stuff. So Bob Rose, thank you again for coming on. We have to catch up again, and I have to rush everything next time. But like I said, you're a busy man, and it's football season now, so it's gonna be hard to try to catch collabs and stuff.
Hoodie, we're going to keep in touch. I feel bad for you, brother, that I couldn't give you more time tonight, but I appreciate you having me on. And let's catch up a little bit later on when we both have some more time to spare.
Yes, sir. And if you don't mind helping me in this podcast, like we always tell everybody, who dat, everybody. Make sure y'all hit that subscribe button on the way out. And like I said, go look at Hoodie Jube, YouTube over there. Subscribe if you like what you watch, if you're watching from the Pro Media Network. So with that being said, until the next live podcast or video, who dat, and I'll see y'all later.